Hello, my name's Simon from CramTheExam and welcome to this video, which is week 4, day 1 of your 12-week preparation to get you ready for your FCE CAE or Matura Advanced exam. Today is Monday, which means it's writing day, and today we're going to be looking at reports for the FCE and CAE, so let's get stuck in. First of all, let's find out what a report is. As you can see on the screen, this is what a report is for the FCE exam. This little snippet of text was taken from the FCE Handbook for Teachers, which is a book produced by Cambridge which tells teachers how to prepare students for the FCE exam. So, a report is usually written for a superior, for example a teacher, or a peer group, for example, members of an English club. Candidates are expected to give some factual information and make suggestions or recommendations. A report should be clearly organised and may include headings. So that's basically what a report is. Is the report for the CAE any different? Well, the answer is not really. Although there is a lot more information here, this is from the CAE handbook, the idea is pretty much the same. So for the CAE, a report may be written for a superior or a peer group, just like the FCE. The content of a report is to some extent factual and draws on the prompt material, but there will be scope for candidates to make use of their own ideas and experience. What this is saying is that when you answer the question, you've got to make sure you answer the question based on the information you're given in the question. This is the same for the FCE. The FCE will give you some information, topics, areas that you'll have to write about, and the CAE gives you perhaps a little bit more detail, but the idea is the same. Use the information which is presented in the question. Candidates will be asked to do more than describe a situation. They'll be asked to evaluate to what extent a particular aim has been achieved or to suggest an alternative course of action. So whereas the FCE is very much more pro-con, which is a description of what's going on, the CAE is much more of an evaluation of that same thing. So if you answer the CAE with pro-con, you're going to lose points. You're going to have to work with the information that you've got, or with your imagination, what information you can come up with which is applicable, and be able to evaluate that information, bearing in mind the question. Students need to be taught a report format with the use of headings where appropriate, just the same as FCE. Make sure you know the structure before you do the report. They should also work on specific vocabulary areas such as transport, leisure and entertainment, and learn how to make suggestions and recommendations, which is the same as the FCE. So bearing in mind there is a little difference between FCE and CAE, what are the basics? Well, these are the basics. You've got to underline the question text. Now, this is the basics for every single writing question. As you're reading the question, the task, underline the important bits, things you have to include. If you don't include these things or write about these things, you will lose marks. You've got to include you've got to underline, who you're writing to, and that means then you'll know the register. Do you write formally, or do you write informally, or do you write impersonally or neutrally? Now, reports always tend to be formal, so you've got two choices, either using neutral language or impersonal language, or formal language. So it doesn't matter if you're writing to a teacher or to your peer group, which could be your friends. You've always got to move more towards formal language. So if you're comfortable using formal language, then reports are for you. If you prefer to write in a more informal style, then it'd probably be a good idea not to choose reports as your part 2 question, but to write an informal letter or something else. Now, as you're underlining the important parts in the question, and as you're planning, which is the second point, tick the underlining as you mention it. So not just underlining to identify it, but ticking to make sure you've included it in your plan or in your answer. Planning. Reports have a very specific structure which have to be followed. A very, very similar structure to proposals. Very, very organized, using headings, very clear paragraph breakdown. This makes reports quite easy to write. This also makes proposals quite easy to write. When you know the structure, all you've got to do is fill in the vocabulary and answer the question, which I know kind of sounds quite difficult, but the more you practice it, the easier it gets, because once you know the structure, most of the thinking has been done for you. So you've got to learn the structure. If you write a report and it's not structured like a report, I don't have to say it because it's obvious, you will lose marks. Language you'll have to include will be things like recommendations, suggestions, and from the point of view of the CAE evaluations as well. So make sure you get familiar with that language, and luckily for you, I'm going to show you some fantastic websites where you'll see that language. There is a difference between, although reports and proposals are very, very similar, there is an important difference, and that is one that's based on time phrases. Proposals, almost all of the proposal is written pointing towards the future. A proposal is about something in the future, after all. Reports, however, focus on things which are happening in the present time or happened in the past. And then only at the end, in the conclusion, do they talk about the future. And that's something that you've got to remember when you're writing your report. If you're writing your report following the structure and it's future, 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 you're not writing a report, you're writing a proposal. So, and similarly, if you're writing a proposal and it's past, past, present, present, you're not writing a proposal, you're writing a report. So make sure that you get the time phrases correct when you're writing your answer. Okay, so those are the basics. So let's have a look at those websites which will give you more information, excellent examples of language which you can use in your reports, and model questions, and more importantly, answers. Okay, I've moved into this corner and shrunk myself down a little bit to make to give you a good chance to have a look at the website which is behind me. And if you've watched my writing videos before, you'll be very familiar with the fact that I love this website, rubenvalero.com. It breaks down writing exercises for the FCE and CAE in lots and lots of detail. First of all, the green box tells you what a report is. This is what we've covered already. Now the hints. Begin by stating the purpose of your report. Very important. Don't just get stuck into information. Tell the person why you're writing the report. What does this report tell you as a reader? Make sure that that part is relevant. Invent where you get the information, that there were opinion polls, that you did a survey, that there was some research, government statistics, whatever it might be. Invent that source of information. Now we're focusing on the structure. Use a clear layout with headings, lists of numbered points or bullets, but it says here, don't overdo it. Just use them sparingly. Don't fill the report full of numbered points or bullets. It doesn't look very nice and it's difficult to read. Divide your report into sections according to the input. In other words, break it down according to the plan structure, and we'll see that in a second. Develop the ideas and the task input, and this goes back to the underlining. Underline the part, be aware of what you've got to write about, and develop those ideas. In other words, stay on point. Don't go off on tangents talking about different things that you want to talk about. Make sure you're answering the question. Give a clear summary of the situation and make a comment suggestion only in the last paragraph. So very specifically, put your suggestion at the end, not all the way through the text, just at the end, and use an impersonal, semi-formal style, or formal depending if you're writing to your principal. Now, here's the structure. Paragraph 1, stating the purpose of the report. Paragraph 1, describing how you got the information. Paragraphs 2, 3, reporting your results. And then making recommendations, last paragraph. That is your structure for the FCE report. And what you've got here is some fantastic model sentences which will help you with that structure. So have a look at those. Here are some ways that you can present information in bullet points or lists. and how you make recommendations and so on. So there's plenty of great vocabulary here. I'll let you look at it in your own time. Of course, links to all of the websites we have a look at in this video will be presented in the video description below. And then at the end, model questions and answers. The second great website that I like to use is EnglishExamHelp.com, and it's the same idea as Ruben Valero, presented in a slightly different way. Here you've got your model question, and what you've got here is a breakdown of an answer. So introduction, advantages, disadvantages, etc. But in these blue boxes is a wealth of information about why you're doing what you're doing and the kind of language you can use. So for example, use headings, makes it easier to find the main information. State the aim of the report, where you collected the information, same information as the previous website. Don't begin with sir, madam, it's not a letter. And then phrases you can use. And then a reminder, remember, it's a formal piece of writing. So, and then this gives you a reminder what formal writing, the characteristics of formal writing are. And that's the same idea, whether it's the advantages about that section, disadvantages about that section, conclusions and recommendations, what you do in this paragraph, and you guessed it, language to help you do that. And then you've got some questions here. Now, above my head, now you can see a checklist. Once again, plenty of good advice there. Make sure you read through this and apply that checklist to your writing. Now, this is Flojo. Flojo is a great website. I use Flojo a lot for the videos that I do on YouTube for CramTheExam. What this is a teacher's review of a student's answer of a report. Now, this might help you. It will allow you to see how teachers think, perhaps, or how teachers approach a piece of writing. So this is the question that Ling had to answer, and this is the breakdown done by the teacher. Now, don't panic. These green hieroglyphics are all described below in the marking code. So read this answer, referring to the marking code to see what the problem is. And then also have a look at the feedback. Now the feedback is exactly that. It gives you feedback. Sounds obvious, doesn't it? This is a well-structured report link, covers all the necessary points. There are a number of occasions where your choice of expression isn't quite right, so I've made a number of suggestions for you to study. This is a fairly good attempt at the task, nevertheless. Now, if I were you, I would have a look at these mistakes, these poor expressions or these mistaken expressions, find them in the text, read them, see what the corrections are, and learn those corrections just in case you're making those same mistakes. Now that's for the FCE. Let's check out the information for the CAE. And for the CAE, let's start again one more time with Rubens Valero. Exactly the same idea. What a report is, the hints on the report, some extra information here for CAE, so read this carefully, and it's the same idea. The structure of the report is broken down for you, and the type of language which you can use in that report. And then, of course, you've got some model questions and answers. For this website, engexam.info, another website I use a lot for CramTheExam, it gives you a slightly more detailed breakdown of the CAE report structure and a writing report sample at the bottom for you to study as well. So that's also a great resource. And once again for Flojo, it's exactly the same idea, a CAE report with a teacher's breakdown of whose answer is Asha's answer, giving some great feedback of where she went wrong and the good thing and the corrections she should be aware of in order to have a better answer next time round. Let's just have a look at the feedback. This was getting to be a really interesting essay when it suddenly finished. Sudden finishes are not good for reports. We need a nice flow of continuation all the way through. This suggests that Asha's planning was not very good, or that she ran out of time, unfortunately. It says here you're 30 words short of the word limit of 250 you're aiming for, so you have room to add a couple of sentences to round this off. So this is either she ran out of time, or, as I said, it was bad planning. But the good thing is that the it was obviously, up until that point, it was a good answer because the reader was engaged. In terms of language, you're successful in achieving a formal academic style that is just right for this type of writing task, etc., etc. So go back and have a look at that is obviously a good answer, and see what you can take away from that, and see if this answer works with the structure which is presented in the previous two websites which we've had a look at. Okay, so bearing all that information in mind about what a report is for the FCE and CAE and all of that great information presented on those websites we've had a look at, these are the writing tasks I'd like you to do today if you've got one of these course books and you've signed up to CramTheExam. If you've signed up, you can send me your answer through the website. I will mark it for you, give you constructive feedback, and hopefully help you to develop your writing skills. And of course, for as long as you're a member of CramTheExam, you can send me as much writing as you want. I will mark it and I will get it back to you. There is a free exercise for you to have a go at below. Indeed, there were plenty of free exercises on those websites we had to look at, but unfortunately I am unable to answer your writing tasks for those free exercises. I can only offer writing feedback through my website. And if you don't know what CramTheExam.com is, it's a website which is full of videos for the exam questions for the course books above my head. And as you can see, if you've got one of those course books and you just want access, it'll cost you 30 zloty for 31 days access, about 7 to 8 euros. If you want 3 months access, then you've got a fantastic price. You can see it on the screen, and I'll send you a free course book as well, as long as I still have them sitting on my shelves, and they have been flying off my shelves over the last 4 weeks. But if you still want them, I've still got copies available for all of those course books. Then get in contact with me, go through my website and sign up. There's a link to a video in the video description below in which I show you how to do that, and I show you what's inside my website, so you can have a good idea of what it is that you're getting involved in before you get involved in it, I hope. So those are those questions one more time. Do them, send them to me, and I'll get them back to you. Tomorrow is Tuesday, which means it's listening day, so come back either on YouTube or on Facebook, where you'll see the listening exercise for that day, and there will be a free online exercise for you to do, and a walkthrough video which explains that online exercise. So I'll see you again tomorrow for a listening task. See you later.